live. All right, we should be live on both platforms. Let's go ahead and check. Not seeing it on YouTube quite yet. Oh, it looks like it is working on the landing page.
Perfect.
At least on my end.
Improvements. And I can see it on LinkedIn.
Beautiful. What does it look like on LinkedIn? Let's see.
Yep.
Oh, working on YouTube now. Beautiful.
Yep, we are good. Okay. Do we want to... Let's pull it down real quick and then we'll start in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Or do we think we'll break something?
That might break something. Let's just leave it on.
Yeah,
don't want to risk that.
I'm just going to mute and cam real quick while I get finally ready.
Yeah, me too. Make sure my camera doesn't overheat. Hello, everybody in the waiting room. We're just going to wait one more minute here. Nate is in the building. Let's go. Yeah, we're going to wait
Let's get this started.
Going to wait a minute for the webinar room to fill up. If you have any questions about short form video in general, any questions you think we could answer, throw them in the chat, and we could do a quick Q&A for the first couple of minutes while we wait for the room to fill. See, room's filling up. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, we're kicking off in like a minute or two. Just going to wait a little bit for the room to fill up a little bit more.
Do we have to let people in from the waiting room? I'm not sure.
I don't believe so.
Sweet.
If we're in here right now, please send a message in the chat just acknowledging you're able to hear us, see everything. Everything's working well on your end. This is only our second self-hosted webinar, so we're still probably working out some kinks here, but it looks like everything is probably working.
There we go. We've got people in.
Yes. Another Nick M. Love to see it.
Yeah. all the Nick M's.
Yes. Actually, we only let people in this webinar with the first name that starts with the letter N. That's a rule we have. So if anyone doesn't have that, please. And
if anyone has any insights into why we might have named our company N2, we're open to guesses. So we'll see what happens. Very creative. There. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we're up to about 19 people. It says, I know this view count lags a little bit, so we could probably go ahead and get started. You ready?
Let's jump.
Alrighty. Well, William. Actually, yeah, let's answer William's question real quick just to give people a little bit of added time to jump in here. So he said, how have you addressed imposter syndrome as you started using video? Does it subside or go away over time? Nate, you have a good answer to that?
It does go away a little bit. I think that after a while, you just realize that everyone who's posting is just like you are. And what I discovered as a financial advisor was that most people actually didn't know anywhere near as much as I did because they weren't in the industry. They didn't really understand the nuances that are associated with some of these really complex financial topics. And I think the imposter syndrome is less important than the getting it right syndrome, which is where you have to do your research. You really have to dig in. You have to be right because nothing is more brutal a fact checker than the internet. And so I think that makes the imposter syndrome go away because you realize, oh, I have to do my research. And when I do it and I put out a good video, I feel phenomenal about it. And I've posted so many that I leave that video production just feeling like it's the best thing I've put out. So it goes away.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd agree there. And like Nate was saying, since we are financial professionals or like have our certifications, other things along those lines, we do know a lot more about the topics we're talking about in the finance niche than most other creators that are posting on here, because I started back in 2020. I was the only CFP that I knew of making content actively at the time, but there was still a large community of people making personal finance content. And I found that I was able to just go a lot deeper on certain topics than they were. And that really did help me cut out the imposter syndrome right away, which I definitely did feel immediately. But I mean, video production is like anything else. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get at it. And that soon it's just like part of your overall routine. And you're completely used to it.
Absolutely. All right. Let's jump in.
Yes. So the tagline for this is stop marketing, start educating. We can dive into that a little bit more, but that's our entire thesis on why short form video is such an effective marketing tool, because people don't feel like they're being sold to, and they actually aren't being sold to, because our goal with the videos we make is to educate and provide as much value as possible. So we build trust with our prospective clients, and eventually over time that trust compounds and compounds. And when they finally decide it's time to work with a financial professional, it's pretty obvious who they're going to choose. If they already know, like, and trust you, they're at least going to reach out to you first and give you the first chance to earn their business. And today's webinar is all about getting started with short form video for financial advisors. I'll try not to ramble too much because we do want to keep it within that 45 minutes. So Nate, let's go ahead and go on to intros.
Awesome.
So let's you intro yourself first. You're up top there.
I'm Nate Hoskin. I have been creating content since January 1st of 2021. I started it because I had just started a brand new RIA and it was in the middle of COVID. I had no way of reaching clients. I couldn't go to networking events. I wasn't really that into cold calling for obvious reasons. And so I decided that I was going to make a TikTok and ended up having runaway success. I've accumulated over 130 million views. And I've also built my entire business on the back of short form video. I would say 90 to 95% of my clients by this point have come from the short form videos that I've produced and posted to every single platform.
And I am Nick, and I have a little bit different story than Nate. I started back in 2020 as well. It was more of like a side hustle. I don't know if I should call it that because I didn't really do it with the intention of making money right away while I was doing a full-time financial advisor job during the day. But I saw TikTok as a platform was blowing up. I realized I'd accumulated a lot of like financial knowledge that younger me would have really benefited from knowing, but I just didn't have access to that sort of information. My parents were financially literate, were never taught that stuff in school, obviously. So I kind of wanted to just be a resource for kids that were like me growing up, and just started posting videos about personal finance, budgeting, investing, different stuff like that. Eventually blew up to a point where it didn't make sense for me to keep my full-time job as an advisor anymore. So I went full-time in social media a little under a year after starting. And instead of using it to build an RIA, I decided I would rather help as many people as possible at scale by just providing as much free financial information as possible. And instead monetize through helping some of the largest financial brands on the internet, like Fidelity, SoFi, TurboTax, Ally Bank, a bunch of basically any large financial brand wants to get in front of their next generation of customers or clients. They reach out to a select group of financial like creators. And I am lucky to be in that group. And I've worked with a lot of really cool companies because of that. And I am I'm the most followed CFP professional on social media. I probably should mention that as well.
By far, considering I am the third most followed CFP, and I have about a 1/8 of the amount of following that you do. So you've got a pretty solid lead, but I'm going to see if I can make up a little bit of a difference. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This fact blows my mind every single time. And I think you guys will resonate with this because we all do it without even noticing it. Whatever your platform of choice is, you might be on LinkedIn nowadays. And if you're in similar networks that I am, you see that most people are now creating short form content on LinkedIn, or you're watching TikTok, or you're watching Facebook Reels, whatever it happens to be. Americans spend 17 hours a week watching short form video. So if you're wondering where your future clients are, they're currently watching a video that could have you in it. And this doesn't stop at viewership, because not only do people like to watch good content, they like to buy based on good content. Most consumers prefer to watch a short form video to learn more or to be convinced to make a purchase or make an investment in an advisor. And we as advisors get to take that one step further and actually build trust and selling ourselves rather than shilling a product or something of that sort. So this has become just an incredible platform for advisors to really get in touch with people, educate people, and then actually get business.
Yeah, one of the biggest objections we hear from other financial advisors we talk about like short form video with is that, oh, my ideal client isn't on there. There's no way like a 50-year-old multimillionaire would be watching TikToks. And the data shows that really like that's not true. Like basically social media and short form video specifically has penetrated every single age group of people. This chart below is a representation of like the quote unquote older demographics of people that are using the major short form video platforms. And side note, yes, all 5 of these platforms allow you to post short form videos on them. We'll go into that a little bit later. But as of 2021, so this is old data. This is like 3-year-old data, which is absolutely ancient in social media time horizons. Over 90% of people from the ages of 30 to 49 are active on a platform like YouTube. I would bet that's close to 100% now. And I'd be willing to bet most of the other numbers we see here have gone up so much. And it's clear. And I mean, you see this by the adoption of short form video across every platform. This is where people are consuming their media now. It's no longer just like image-based posts like Instagram. Very rarely like text-based posts on Facebook or Twitter. Blame throughout this presentation.
Yeah. I have a lot of bias when it comes to thinking about age demographics on social media. But all of those biases completely fell apart when I was sitting in the DMV registering my car, because I sat there and I watched 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds scrolling YouTube shorts, scrolling Facebook reels as their source of entertainment while they were just waiting in line at the DMV. And it blew my mind. I had a spiritual experience in the DMV, which I don't think a lot of people can say. And to give you some real world examples from an advisor perspective, I got a $1.1 million account from a 58-year-old who found me on TikTok, allegedly the lowest engagement for older ages across all of these different platforms. And I've also been able to work with very young people who have received significant windfalls, like inheritances and selling pieces of their company, like a $6 million account that I got from a 26-year-old who, again, found me on TikTok. And so the opportunities are endless, regardless of who you look to serve.
And as usual, it seems that advisors are sort of like the latest adopters out of every other profession. I mean, if we just look across large accounts across different platforms, we see that lawyers, real estate professionals, even people that like sell private jets and government entities, every single one of these groups has embraced short form video as their main form of marketing and are seeing humongous success with it. But advisors are slow to the game, and that's basically why we're here, to make sure you guys can catch up.
If you haven't seen the National Park Service social media accounts, check them out. They are hilarious. I have never bought into a fat bear competition in my life. And so if a government entity who is that regulated and who must remain that compliant is able to post on social media, so are we. But that's a conversation for another time.
And then one last little example of why social media is kind of out there, but stick with us here because it's a really good example of why short form video specifically is such a good medium to target your prospective clients with. That guy walking on the right with headphones on, pretend he's your prospective client. People instinctually only let people they know, like, and trust within like their little personal sphere around them, their little like sphere of space. So obviously your partner's probably gonna be the closest person to you, your best friend's pretty close to you as well. Currently, in the current landscape, advisors are about as far away from their prospective clients as humanly possible. But short form video can actually make you like the closest person to your prospective client by putting you in their literal palm of their hand. They could be holding you 1 foot away from their face, watching value you provide multiple times per week. And if they do that over multiple weeks, multiple months, they're going to grow to know, like, and trust you just instinctually because you're that close to them, providing that much value. You're spending so much time with your respective clients at scale, by the way, which is an amazing benefit of short form video. And again, like I mentioned at the jump, if they spend that much time with you and they get that much value from you, who do you think will be the very first person they turn to when they they have financial problems, they have financial questions, and they want to work with an advisor who could potentially help them with whatever those questions or problems are?
And we see this happen in actual results. It's not a theory. It's not a thesis. We've been able to prove it, and we've been able to show that this is actually something that works. And so this is a little snapshot just from my Calendly from July 1st to December 31st of last year. During that time, I created 86 videos. So it was a lot of videos. Don't get me wrong. But I did manage to get my workflow down to about 3 hours per week in order to have that kind of production. And what I was able to see was 92 created events. Of course, some of them got canceled, but even after those cancellations and those reschedules, I was still able to have 3 organic video meetings per week for 6 months running. And this turned into an insane amount of business for Hoskin Capital. And it was also just a great way to connect with people, because I've heard over and over in these meetings, they're like, oh yeah, I didn't even go to your website. I feel like I know you so well that I just went to the first schedule a call button and hit it and set it up. I had to do no more proving. I had to do no more trust building. They were there and they were ready to work. And that's why I've been able to maintain over a 90% close rate on all of these different organic meetings.
All right, now the why is out of the way. Time for the actual fun part, why you're here. How do you actually get started creating short form video content? We'll start with equipment, and thankfully it is very, very cheap. There's no need to go out and buy an expensive camera like I have or an expensive mic or anything like that. These are really the only 3 pieces of equipment that you need, assuming you already have a relatively new smartphone, as long as it's within like 2, 3, maybe 4 years old. That might be kind of pushing the boundary, but as long as the camera quality is fine, that's not going to matter. But audio, Rode BL mic, that is like the best mic we've ever heard. We'll go through an example on the next slide, but it just plugs right into your phone and makes it super easy to record video with very, very crisp audio quality. And we actually think audio, I mean, kind of along with lighting, but audio especially is the number one factor that determines whether or not someone watches your video or scrolls, at least on the production side of things. Because if you have bad audio, like there's no coming back from that. No one's going to want to like sit through listening to scratchy audio for 30 to 60 seconds. But if your audio is great and your video is not as good, then they'll at least be willing to give you a shot. But then in the tripod in the middle, it's not necessary, but it is a very nice to have. I shoot all of my videos basically on a tripod, unless there is like a one-off or like some unique videos I do. Sometimes I film videos while skiing. Sometimes I film videos while hiking, but those are very, very seldom. It is nice just to have a tripod that you can set up on your desk or set up, as you see, this one goes pretty tall. You can just set up and record while you're standing up, just so you're not like holding your camera and you're not all shaky and everything. And then these soft boxes on the right, I think these are the number one thing other than mic that you should get production wise. Lighting is such a huge factor. Again, we'll give you an exact concrete example in like 2 slides here of why that is. But good lighting makes all the difference. Your camera, if you record yourself and you think your camera quality is too bad, it's probably not your camera. It's probably your lighting. And yeah, you'll see exactly why in like 2 slides here. We can go ahead and look at audio.
A $200 buy-in for something that can result in hundreds of thousands of dollars of business doesn't really exist anywhere else in our industry. And that's why we're here. That's why we think this is so important, that we would make it free to you guys and show you exactly how to get this set up.
Exactly. And here's what we're talking about with audio. I recorded basically just a sentence with an iPhone, AirPods, something called a Ulanzi wireless microphone, which is like your like bargain basement, like shipped in cheaply made from China kind of mic that you can get for like $20, I think. And then the Rode VideoMic Miele, the one we recommended, and then the Rode Shotgun mic, which is the one I connect to my professional camera and I record my videos with. And let's go ahead and see the audio difference. It is absolutely staggering. Test of audio on the iPhone's built-in microphone. Test of audio on AirPods. This is a test of the Ulanzi wireless microphone. Audio recording using the Rode VideoMic Miele. Audio test of the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus. Yeah, for $60-something, getting the audio quality you can get out of the Rode mic versus AirPods especially. Never, if you take one thing out of this webinar, do not ever record a video with AirPods. That was a mistake I made early on in content creation. The audio quality is just, it's not good. No one's going to want to listen to that at all.
Yeah, you might think that we are currently using our AirPods microphones because we both got them in. Not the case. Both of us have other mics. Yeah, that is a hard no. You can use them to listen to things. They work great for that. But when it comes to recording your voice, there needs to be an alternative. And some of these are just, so cheap and so accessible.
Exactly. And here is lighting. So if you get those 2 soft boxes we went over 2 slides ago, what you're going to want to do is place them basically at 45-degree angles on either side of you. So right now I have one to my right, one to my left. That's why I'm nice and filled in light-wise. Again, we'll go over an example of that next slide. It's absolutely crazy. You could also use natural light if you don't want to use soft boxes. That can be good, especially if you have a nice window that brings in a lot of natural light. If you are facing the window while recording, so your phone's between you and the window, that light could go over your face pretty nicely, though your phone could potentially cast some shadows. And then I'm also not a huge fan of natural light because you're kind of dictated by the sun and the time of day on when you can actually record, and the light might be too harsh, it might be too little. There's just a lot of variable factors that I don't really want to deal with. I want to record on my own schedule, not the schedule of the sun. But it is a possibility. And if you are recording outside, that can be great light. And again, I would recommend that you face the direction of the sun so the light is hitting you in the face and it's not backlighting you, because that will create a huge shadow over you and you'll barely even be visible. And another thing you should take out of this, besides not using AirPods production wise, is to never have your overhead like office lights turned on. Like I have a light bulb right above me. That thing is off right now. It is off whenever I'm recording anything because it absolutely just casts a shadow over your face and makes the light look terrible. And we'll see how that looks next slide.
Yeah, if you look at my frame real quick and you just see how gross the lighting is right now, and you can see the weird shadows up here on me, how my entire face is shadowed by my hair. And all we have to do is lose that light and use the softboxes instead. And suddenly you get a far more even lighting framework, which is what you can see here. It is ridiculous. There is no change in video quality. There is no change in image quality here. These are the exact same shots in the exact same place. The only difference is the lighting. So, Nick, you're looking pretty good on the right side of the screen.
Yeah, at least on the right side. Yeah, again, lighting is the biggest factor when it comes to video quality. I mean, your phone barely matters as long as it's new again. And next up, so you've ordered your equipment. What do you do next? You should probably go ahead and create your profiles on each of the major short form video platforms. Now, I am talking to the right crowd that knows what diversification, like knows the benefits of diversification. When people ask, hey, why should you post like on TikTok and Instagram? I kind of just want to go like on LinkedIn. That's where I think all of my ideal clients are. No, you should diversify. If you're making one piece of content, you should post it everywhere you can, because why not? I mean, Nick can speak more to the compliance side of things a little bit. That's not something we're going to dive super deep into in this conversation, but it's not that much more difficult to archive pieces of content across all platforms as it is one platform. So you might as well create across LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and post across every single platform. The one thing I would say is that posting across all these platforms does kind of limit the video length you're able to post. YouTube does have a 60-second time limit. Instagram and Facebook have 1 minute and 30-second time limits. And then TikTok and LinkedIn, they don't really have any time limits for how long your videos can be. But I think that is a good practice to have, because at the end of the day, we are making short form videos. And especially when you're just starting out, you should do whatever you can to provide as much value per second in your videos as possible. So they should be short and completely value packed, and keeping them under that 60-second mark is a good kind of like a good fencing, a good barrier to set for yourself and say, okay, I shouldn't be making videos longer than this, at least right away. When you're more experienced and know what you're doing and know how to hold someone's attention for longer in a video, then maybe you can experiment with longer videos and just not post it on YouTube. But that's a long ramble. That's all it goes to say. Diversify, post across every platform, create profiles on every platform. It's all very similar. Now, for the actual profile, the first thing you're going to have to do is choose a tag or a handle. It's at Nick Talks Money or at Nate Hoskin. Nate actually just recently changed his, but those are our tags, and that's also known as a handle. It's basically your unique identifying handle, tag, whatever, for each platform. So if you search Nick Talks Money on any major social media platform, you will find me, except LinkedIn. I don't think they don't have tags on there, but for any other major social media platforms, that is how you are identified. Rules for thumb on this is it should be the same across every single platform, so your brand stays really consistent, and you probably will get fake accounts made of you by people that are trying to scam people. Don't be scared. It happens to like literally everybody in social media. It's something that these platforms really need to handle well. But keeping a consistent brand name across every single platform ensures that you build as much trust as possible, as easy as possible for your followers to know who is actually you and who is just a scammer trying to sell them like Bitcoin futures or something. And another best practice for these is I do like including your name in some capacity and not just including your firm name. So if your firm name is like Black Diamond Wealth Management, don't just name your profile Black Diamond Wealth Management. It should not sound like a company, because people follow people. They don't follow businesses, because they see businesses they assume they're going to be sold to. So they don't want to, especially in the financial space, they don't want to sell someone they're just going to be sold to all the time. So I would encourage you to make it more personal, include your first name in there. It could even be like Nick Black Diamond or something if Black Diamond Wealth is my firm name. And then speaking of name, if you look up to the top of that little section of call outs there, you have the name. You can enter your actual name on most of these platforms as well. So if anyone, these are TikTok pages we are showing you right now. You see Nick Meyer CFP at the top of mine, Nate Hoskin CFP at the top of his. Thankfully, these do not have to be unique, because I have one of the most common names ever. There's probably like 100 other people just in Denver alone that have my same name. So you can just enter your full name up there. That's all we'd really recommend. On TikTok, this shows up when you post things. So If you're just on your For You page and you see a video from me, it's going to come across as Nick Meyer CFP, not Nick Talks Money. This is reversed on Instagram, so it's going to come up as Instagram in your feed on Nick Talks Money, but then you go to my profile and you see Nick Meyer CFP under my profile picture. And speaking of profile picture, that is one of the most important parts of your page because it's going to be like the first impression that people get, even when they see your videos on the feed. If you have never taken professional headshots before, I would highly recommend that is something you do immediately after you, like, step 1, order the equipment. Step 2, do professional headshots. Ideally not like in suit and tie, super buttoned up, unless that's really something you want to lean into. But people trust people that they don't feel like they're being sold to. So I would probably recommend looking more casual like Nate and I are here. Good practices for profile pictures is use the rule of thirds and just have your basically neck up showing. These are really, really small images. You're not going to want to do anything bigger than that. Like you can even barely see these when you go to our profile. So make sure your head is the center point of the image. Your eyes are probably like on the upper third of that little circle box just to make sure it's good spacing all around. One little hack you could use is something a lot of other creators as well as myself use is you can draw more attention to your headshot while people are like scrolling through their feeds. If you do a solid color background behind you, do a little white outline. It's really easy to do in Canva. We can go into that more and maybe in Q&A. That's definitely not enough time to handle it right now. But all I have to say, hey, have a good headshot, have a professional headshot. It's a big part of your brand. Don't just have like a selfie or of you at a wedding or something. And then down to the bio, we are almost done here. Stick with me here. But in the bio, it's a great way to it's a great place to include like your value proposition and how you help people. So when someone goes to your profile, think of the process they're going through. They're thinking, okay, like I just watched a video from this person. I'm going to go to the profile and see what they're all about. I want to know how I can benefit from following this person or potentially following up with this person and a call or something along those lines. So you want to include your value proposition as the first line of your bio. So for example, mine is I make personal finance fun. Again, my main goal is to just educate people about personal finance and making it entertaining. So that is my main value prop. That's why I want people to follow me. But you can also provide credibility in your bio, which is something that Nate does a really good job on. So he says Investopedia top 100 advisors, speaker creators, CFP. And then immediately I'm like, oh, he talks about money and he has all these accolades. I trust him. I should trust whatever videos he puts out because he has all these accolades and he has a lot of credibility. On TikTok, there's one thing to note. On other platforms, you can include, like, it's really easy to include your value prop and credibility. On TikTok, you're limited to basically just 2 lines of text. Nate fit a little let's chat in at the bottom of his, but it's very limited in how many characters you can put in there. But also, speaking of let's chat, that's what's called a CTA or a call to action. So it's another important thing to include in your bios, especially when you have a link that you're able to put below them. You want to tell people how they can engage with you off the platforms, if at all possible. So for me, I offer a lot of free downloads and like investing platform affiliate links and stuff like that. So I say free resources to start investing. It tells people, like, they can assume it's like, oh, free financial resources, free like guides, templates, whatever. They click on that link, get their value, and they can engage with me further. That they're added to my email list, etc. For Nate, his main goal is to schedule calls with people. So he says, let's chat, and then directs them to that link in bio down there, where it brings them to a landing page where the main goal is to get someone on a phone call. And one note about bio links, that's the last part for the profile page. One part about bio links is you can put them on all of your platforms across every platform here, but TikTok does require you to have at least 1,000 followers before you can put a link in bio, unfortunately. So you'll have to post videos for probably a couple months before you get to that point. But for every other platform, you can just put your link in your bio immediately. And that is profiles. Got all that?
Well done. I think if you guys take anything away from this component, it's that people follow people, not brands. And so making sure that you are putting yourself forward rather than your company is going to be unbelievably important. Everything else really adds in. And if you want a little hack, because I think you guys will go in and try to create your bios and you will realize that you can't hit enter. And so the easy way to do that is to build your bio in your notes, in your little notes app on your phone, make it look perfect, and then just copy and paste, and it will paste over exactly. Otherwise, you'll find out that you can't create cool bios like we did. So that's a nice little hack for you guys. The next piece right below your bios and your CTA is going to be that links page. Nick?
Yeah, 1 second. Jesse asked which platform requires 1,000 followers where you can post video. Oh, no. Jesse, so TikTok requires that you have 1,000 followers before you have a link in your bio. You can post videos with no followers, though, just to clarify that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
So that links page, we both recommend having a fully custom links page rather than having your homepage to your website or something of that sort, having a dedicated landing page that people can navigate to. And so mine is quite different from what you would see on my homepage of my website, because it's going to have those calls to actions. And it's also going to talk a little bit more about me rather than just about my firm. But the most important part is that schedule a free intro call right there. That's going to be the big piece. And if you guys want to learn why I have that little disclosures section right underneath my schedule a free intro, that's going to be in our next webinar. We're doing full compliance. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Nick has a lot more links to share. And so he has them all sectioned out. But again, this is still very, very on brand. It still looks very Nick Talks Money. He, instead of building a custom landing page like I did, he uses Stan Store. So it's totally fine to use a Linktree, a Stan, one of those services that just allow you to build a landing page for your social media. If you guys want to dig a little bit deeper, I'll give you 5 seconds to pull up your phone and scan these QR codes. It's the easiest way to just get attached to our links page and actually figure out what we do. You will see this constantly on social media. There is no copyright. There is no plagiarism on social media. If you see something that you like about the videos that we make, about the links pages that we have, use it. We are not going to fault you. You should just use it as something that we had to do 3 years of research to perfect, and you get immediately. That's the whole point of this webinar. We'll give you 2 more seconds in case anyone's scrabbling with their login screen, and then we'll move along. All right. So you have the equipment, you have your profiles set up, you've taken those professional headshots. Now you need to figure out what in the world you're going to write about. So this is our content organization template. And because you're here, you're going to get this in a follow-up email as just a free bonus for showing up. This has completely revolutionized my life. The fact that we sat down and built this out for N2 as something that would be valuable to you guys. And then I went, wow, I have not been doing this well enough. I need to level up. Just goes to show how valuable it is to have a very simple board that you can use to organize all of your different content. So we can see that I take it from ideation all the way through to ready to post, which means that I can fill up the ideas. I have so many terrible ideas every single day, and they die in the ideation section. But the good ones will rise to the top and actually get scripted and turn into something that I sit down and record. This also lets me hit my weekly quota because nowadays I'm doing 7 videos a week. And so I know that I have to have 7 videos in scripting and I have to have 7 videos in recording if I'm going to be keeping up with myself. Within each of these, you then have a nice little description. And so we've built out all of the different checkboxes and that sort of thing. I have actually added in a compliance approval checkbox so that if you ever need to show an additional piece of evidence that you reviewed it and that you actually approved this for compliance, you have yet another thing that you can show the regulating bodies. You can also tag it based on how it's filmed, where it's supposed to be going, and of course, setting that post date. So then let's talk about how to actually write the scripts. You'll see here that I have the scripts broken down into tiny, tiny little sections, 1 to 2 sentences each. The reason I do this is because when I'm filming, I will memorize that piece of the script, and then I will turn to the camera and I will speak it naturally. That way, when someone's watching, they feel like they're on a FaceTime call with me. They don't feel like I'm reading off a script. They can't see my eyes moving. Neither of us use teleprompters because it's almost impossible to remove that effect when you actually go to post the video. So this works far, far better because you can always just chop the pieces together in post and make it look like a very smooth, contiguous video, even though if you saw my bloopers, you would hear a lot of F-bombs and a lot of me hitting my table when I screw up a line, but you always get to cut those guys out. So we have come up with a viral script formula, and this is something that you should be able to recreate every single time you make a video, as well as a couple of rules for you to follow every single time. Nick, I hate to admit this, but you still write better scripts than me. I'm getting better, but I would love to hear your take on what makes a script really run.
Exactly. Yeah. If we look at the diagram on the left there, we could really just look at the first two items and the last item, and that's what your basic script is. So you want to start with a hook, which basically just tells someone why they should watch your video. Then deliver immense amount of value after that, deliver as much value per second as you can, and then end with some sort of call to action. A lot of the time, we don't want to ask too much, we don't want to sell too much, so there shouldn't be like, hey, schedule a call with me, let's work together, hit my link in bio, and like work with my financial advising firm. A lot of the times it should be, hey, if you want to learn more about money, if you like learning about this topic, hit follow, different things like that. And that is the core script. Like that's really what you should focus on writing first. Just, hey, how can I write a good hook? How can I write good value? How can I write a good CTA? Let's dive into the hook a little bit more, because that is that is the most important part of the video. Because especially on short form video, people aren't really like, they're not searching. Like if you make a video about budgeting, they're not going to search for how to budget at like 99% of the time. That's search is becoming a little bit more, but that's beside the point. Most people that will see your videos, it's going to get served to them by the feed, by the algorithm. So the first like 2-3 seconds of the video is going to completely determine whether or not they watch your video or scroll by. And if someone sticks on to watch your video, the algorithm thinks your video is performing better, because it is, and it'll show it to more and more people. And that's how you can get videos that have like millions of views if you have like 100 followers. Because if it performs well, the algorithm is incentivized to keep people on the platforms for as long as possible and give them much value. So if your video's giving viewers value, it'll want to show it to them. So hook, it should be, this is not like naturally how you speak. Like you'll find yourself adjusting your language while writing these scripts. So if you want to tell a story about when you were an advisor like 5 years ago, when you were just starting out, this is the biggest financial mistake you saw clients made. Instead of saying 5 years ago when I was just starting as a financial advisor, there were a lot of mistakes that takes way too long. People are going to lose interest. They're going to scroll by. You should lead with the immediate thing you're talking about. Try to elicit some emotion, some curiosity, and say, these are the 3 biggest mistakes I've seen my clients make as a financial advisor. If I was scrolling and I saw that hook, I'd want to watch. Like, am I making these mistakes? Make people have questions. Make people have curiosity. Make people like pull people in to watch more. Because if you can keep them after that first 3 seconds, chances are they're going to watch the rest of the video. But as you'll see in your analytics when you first start posting videos, like at least half your audience is probably going to drop off in that first 3 seconds. And there's nothing much you can do about that other than try to keep writing better and better hooks and keep improving that by a couple percent. Again, you should try to have like a big impact with your hook, elicit some emotion. Unfortunately, the best emotions to elicit are like fear and anger. You probably don't want to do that, but that is why a lot of the media is the way it is and why it's so like crazy headline driven, because it does elicit fear and anger. And it gets people to dive into those news stories, watch them or read them, etc. Again, our biggest one is probably curiosity. That's what you want to cultivate. That's how you're going to get high quality followers that follow you for the content that you write and are actually engaged and provide like good discussion in the comment sections. And another good thing you could do is name a specific audience. So if you work with a specific sort of client, like if they're only in their 30s and 40s and they work at a tech company or something, you should start out the video with that. Like identify your target audience in the hook, because anyone that fits that audience, they'll get served this video and they'll be like, oh, this is for me, I should watch that. And it will also filter out all the other people that you just don't care about working with. So it could be something like, if you're in your 30s or 40s, earning equity compensation at a startup, these are 3 things you need to know. Something like that, very targeted. And again, gives them that little bit of a hook, the 3 things you know about, or you need to know about equity. That's that little bit of a hook that keeps them watching throughout the rest of the video. And again, you should educate, not sell. It should be like jab, 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 where every single jab is just a video that provides value. And then eventually you do a hook where you have a like a sell, basically. Like at the end of the video, mention that you have your own firm and you should schedule a call if you want to talk more about certain issues, etc. But you should aim to post at least 4 or 5 videos in a row, just providing complete value. And then you can post a video that still provides value, but then also provides that more direct CTA to work with you directly on your business. And then the last little bit there, again, videos, you should keep them under a minute. You can experiment with longer videos, especially TikTok. And watch time is one of the biggest factors that TikTok is looking at now. So if you have a longer video, you can have larger watch time, and that will lead your video to get seen by more and more people. If your watch time is good, again, it's going to be hard to get your watch time high if you're making long videos right away. So just keep your videos short. Honestly, I would say shoot for 30 seconds, max right away for your first couple videos. That will really make you condense the information as much as possible. As you get good at that, as you start seeing good results, then you can start creeping closer to a minute. And as those start getting better results, maybe you can make them longer, but you should definitely start shorter first.
Definitely agree. And Rachel, to answer your question really quickly, we don't use teleprompters at all. That's why we split our scripts into tiny little sections so that we can memorize them, turn to the camera, and film it naturally. We both do not recommend using a teleprompter at all. It is almost impossible to not sound like a robot. It just happens. It's not you. It's just how it works when your brain has to read something and translate it into words. It totally changes your natural speaking cadence. So now that you have the script, how in the world do you film it? What do you choose? And if you look at either of our social media profiles, you will find a lot of different filming or recording styles. For me, well, let's just watch it real quick.
If you have a Roth IRA, you need to understand the 5-year rule. In fact, there are 3 5-year rules. So I'm going to break down all 3.
So the hook, if you have a Roth IRA, bunch of people have Roth IRAs. Those are the only people that I want to talk to with my video. This is actually one of my most successful recording styles because it is so lazy. It is so laid back. I'm sitting in this chair over here, just holding the camera in front of my face, nothing fancy. But because it is so casual, it feels so approachable. And so it's been really, really successful for me. But it's not the only one that's been successful because sometimes when I really want to dive into a more intense or a more complicated topic, I got to go to my desk. If I was 25 with no kids making $100,000 a year, this is exactly how I would save and invest my money. So again, hooks are the most important part. It doesn't have to be a verbal hook, though. You can also have text hooks, you can have movement hooks, and you can have audio hooks. In this case, I used all 4 types of hooks because I had the snap sound, which is called a scroll break, to get someone to kind of snap out of their, oh, I'm just scrolling for the sake of scrolling mode. Then I have the zoom, that's the movement. And then I have the verbal, as well as having this text box on here that says saving and investing as a 25-year-old. All of those are going to combine to create a really good hook because one person might read, one person might listen, one person might watch. All of those people have a way of getting hooked into my video. That said, this video did get almost 2,300 likes. It pales in comparison to this one from Nick.
Good morning. I'd like to cancel my hotel reservation. Will do, but we'll have to charge you a $300 cancellation fee because it's less than 24 hours before your booking. Can you cut me some slack here? That is an old video, so my production style has gone up a lot since then, but it is still one of my most successful. It has, like 900,000 likes or something on there. It was seen by like over 6 million people, which is absolutely insane. But that is the main recording format I use, that sort of like back and forth conversation style thing, because it sort of disarms people and it's a skit. So like, it's fun. It allows me to be fun. I like wear wigs and a lot of stuff. I have like different costumes I put on. It allows me to play a lot of different characters and explain personal finance info in a much more fun way. I'm not seeing like a lot of advisors do this. It definitely is something you can mix in, though. I know Nate's mixed it in, and it from all the testing I've done, I've tried out like every single different content format out there. This one is best for maintaining engagement. So these consistently get the most views out of any other format that I post. And I think it is because it's more upbeat and it allows you to be more creative with your scripting and your characters and all that other fun stuff.
And that's why I use it as an advisor, because I have found that the dialogue style gets a lot of views and gets a lot of followers, but they get very few conversions to those organic meetings that I was talking about. So it's a great way to get people to like and follow so that your next video shows up on their feed. And that video can really pack a punch, can really educate and be more professional. And that's when they'll start to convert to actually being a client. And that's why, as an advisor, I recommend mixing and matching and really giving a couple of different ones a try. Maybe only focusing on 1 or 2 at the beginning, but really letting your creativity run and finding some cool ways to make videos. Because if you're enjoying yourself, you can see it. Humans are biologically programmed to understand body language. And so if you're happy, if you're actually energized by what you're talking about and what you're doing, it bleeds through the camera. It really does. And speaking of being hyped about what you're doing, Nick was at least a little bit excited when he was filming this video. I hope.
4 quirky habits shared by most millionaires. If you make your bed every morning, you're 206.8% more likely to be a millionaire. If you don't smoke, you're 258% more likely to be a millionaire.
Yeah, that just shows that you can be creative with your video styles. These ones didn't do quite as well as my typical skit ones, but I recorded a set of similar videos where I was hiking and just held my phone in front of me and said just did little listicle videos like this. And 2 of those videos were responsible for 80,000 followers gained on Instagram, which is absolutely insane. So doing something sort of out of the box that is a hobby that you enjoy, you can tell that hey, you're in your natural element, can be a good way to differentiate yourself from every single other person that's just in an office making the same sort of personal finance videos. Maybe just putting an extra spin of a different environment, a different location, a different activity on your video is what it really needs to set you apart from everyone else and really blow up.
Absolutely. So we are at time, but we are going to show you a couple of different ways to edit your videos, and then we're going to recommend the best editing app to you if you guys do have a few minutes to spare.
So that's cool. I'd like to learn more about that at some point. Join my free seminar to learn how to... No. So that's cool. I'd like to...
So that's called an L cut, where you overlap the audio from a previous clip with the new clip. You could hear me talking in the background as I interrupted myself. That will allow you to have 0 dead air, which is really, really important.
Credit or debit? I'll use
Scroll breaks should happen in the very, very beginning of your video, and they should be those movement or those audio effects that I talked about earlier, using that to get people to go, whoa, okay, hold on, maybe I should watch this.
What should I study in college to make the most money? First of all, avoid medical.
The text hook that I was talking about, having those text overlays, giving a chance for someone to read, because more than half of people actually watch social media on mute. And so they want something to read and they want captions. It's absolutely essential for actually maintaining it. And then if you want to review a video, or if you see a video that you think you could comment on, or maybe is just plain wrong, you can overlay them into your video. You've probably seen a video something like this.
Why do only rich people know this?
Or maybe you've seen a video that looks like this.
Becoming your own bank is the greatest asset that you can build. And
this is great because it lets you steal their hook. So you don't have to come up with a perfect hook. You can choose a viral video that you already know grabs attention, and you can use that to drive traffic to your own video. So how do you do those overlays? How do you add the text? How do you add the captions? We've determined that if you're going to choose a free option, CapCut is far and away the winner. For something that costs $0, it is probably the most robust editing software I've ever found, second only to Descript. And if you're willing to pay, I think it's $12 a month. This is what both Nick and I use when we're editing or when we're communicating with our team of editors. So Descript is currently the winner if you're willing to pay a little bit extra monthly. But if you're just getting started, is probably the way to go to figure out if you like it and if you feel productive doing it before you actually invest. We didn't talk a lot about compliance today. And the reason for that is because we are doing an entirely different webinar on March 14th about social media compliance for advisors. As I mentioned, I post 7 videos a week. I'm so glad it's not a day. Good Lord. So I have to keep it all compliant. I'm an RIA, I'm state registered. I have to deal with all of those different rules that you guys have to deal with. And I have worked very closely with my compliance team to make sure that I am allowed to do that rather than just letting them tell me no to stay on the safe side. So if you want, you can join us on March 15th. Let's close out with what we have to offer you guys today. Nick?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we only had time to give you guys a 30,000 foot view of how to get started on social media. And that's not even to mention hey, how do you actually handle the workflows and processes once you do get started to ensure this isn't something that takes up multiple hours per week of your schedule. So we put together this course plus coaching model where in the course, we teach you basically everything that we think that you need to know in order to get started and succeed on these short form video platforms as a financial advisor. You can see all the little bullet points there explaining what's in it. I'm not going to read through every one of them, but one of the main value adds that the students in the courses have found super valuable so far is the dedicated coaching calls that we have after. So depending on the course tier you pick, you could have either 2 or 3 calls afterwards directly with both Nate and I on every single call, where we can 1, answer any questions you have, and then 2, give you like direct feedback and direct planning on what you should do next and how you can improve your current profiles, your current videos, like how do you actually use your equipment. We can help you with any questions you have and make sure that you are on a path where you're going to start like light years ahead of anyone else that isn't receiving this sort of like additional coaching, additional education. You will actually have this unfair advantage and you're going to crush it.
Yeah. It took us 3 years of trial and error to get where we are today. And we've made it so that we can achieve that for someone in less than 3 months. And I wish more than anything that I had that, because these are all the different pieces that I had to parse through. I had to figure out what platforms are going to be the most effective. And I lost 2 years because I was just focusing on TikTok and my profiles weren't great. My link in bio was terrible or non-existent. And my editing workflow just took so much time that I couldn't put out all the content that was in my brain. And so if I had been able to spend, it takes about 6 to 8 hours to get through the course. And then we have those coaching calls. So let's say it takes 10 hours to break down that entire learning curve. I would have done it in a heartbeat. And that's why for you guys, we're doing 15% off before Sunday. Thank you guys so much for being here. You guys can scan that QR code and it will take you right to our course page. Or if you have any questions, of course, there's a button for you to set up a free strategy call with us. We're happy to answer any of your questions and we can really figure out if something like this is right for you, because we really want to be able to help out and be able to make as many advisors just as viral as possible, because both of us start with this foundational belief that financial literacy is a basic human right. And so if we can get you guys as experts sharing the incredible knowledge that you have, that's going to be a win in our book every single time. For those of you who are still here, let's do Q&A. I see a couple of questions popping up. Nick, you want to take the first one?
Yes. So Adam, or ADAM Financial Group, asks, what about a Blue mic? That is actually what I'm using right now. I have a Blue Yeti stationed on like this big boom arm. I did actually use it for recording right away. I did run into some audio issues though, because it's not a mic that's made to be used on mobile. Like I had to use a little iPhone adapter that plugged into the USB that came out of my Blue Yeti to plug it into my phone. And that would mean like once every like 5 or 6 recordings, there would just be like a crazy amount of static, and it was super annoying because I had to re-record those scenes. So I would definitely recommend, I mean, if you already have one, you could try it out and see if you have the same issues. But if you're just looking to get new mics right now, like the Rode VideoMic Mi L, or I think the Mi C is the one that's compatible with Android phones. If you don't have an iPhone, that is by far and away what I would recommend. Like that's better than the mic I use to record with my fancy camera. It's yeah. This guy, I'm holding it in my hand right now. It is tiny. It just plugs right into the bottom of your phone, and it just works perfectly every single time. I've had such unbelievable results with this microphone, and so absolutely highly recommend that piece. So, All right, Mitch, for getting people on my calendar, I use Calendly. I think they're probably the best option. I do know that there are a number of others. Your CRM might have one, depending on if you use Salesforce or you use HubSpot. They often have scheduling links that you can use. And there are also some cheaper options. I know that there are some calendar management ones. I really like Calendly because of the robust analytics that I get, as well as the ability to embed it in my website so that they can actually just schedule it right there at certain parts of my webpage. I've found that to be extremely, extremely valuable. So, we actually just had a client who, we just had a client, a couple of financial planners, and they are amazing. Like they are the absolute definition of a dynamic duo. And so we've seen a huge amount of success there, and we can actually share a couple of tips that we gave them on how to make duos really work. The one that I gave in one of our coaching calls was it's kind of hard to fit 2 people in a frame when it's that vertical format. And so one of the things that you can do is you can play with that verticality. You can have one person sitting in a chair and one person standing behind them so that you are offset a little bit. And then Nick actually does a couple of videos with his girlfriend where he is standing behind her. So again, you're able to both fit in the frame without sitting shoulder to shoulder and trying to maybe get it to work. So that's going to be a big thing for duos. The other thing is that
it's still probably best to have your own social media accounts and just post the same video or similar videos on either account rather than having an account that is specifically for the duo. Because if that's the case, you kind of have to have both of you in every single video. Nick, what else would you add?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is that on Instagram, you are able to post collaborative posts. So if you both have your own accounts, you can actually joint post a video on both of your accounts at the same time and it gets sent to both your audiences. Unfortunately, no other platforms that I know of have that yet, but that is a huge feature you should definitely take advantage of on Instagram.
Absolutely. All right. Coming from Nate, nice name, by the way. How do you find or download other video clips to use in your videos? So the way I do it is I just download them straight off of whatever the platform is. Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, absolutely. I'm not so sure about Facebook, but I know that you can just download the videos and they will come out with a watermark. So they will have a Reels or a TikTok watermark that's kind of floating around the frame. There are plenty of free websites that will allow you to just upload it and remove that watermark. You just have to make sure that it doesn't nuke the quality of the video when you get that export. Otherwise,
here, I'll send
just
one in the chat.
download it and use it. Yeah, we can drop that in there for sure.
There we go. SnapTik. It's a good website for just
Perfect.
enter the TikTok URL in there. It's going to shoot you out the download file.
Yep. And that way you don't have to worry about, am I going to screen record? Am I going to go find it on a different platform? You just hit download the moment you think it's interesting and you have it in your bank and you can put it on your content organization template. Rachel, we cannot use TikTok for compliance. I totally understand. There are a lot of companies that just haven't quite caught up with the SEC marketing rules. This is the first time that I've seen that the regulators are actually ahead of advisory firms because they just want to play it really, really safe around social media. That said, there are so many other amazing platforms other than TikTok. And I've found that I actually get higher conversions on other platforms with way, way lower followers. So Nick, what's your take on trending audio?
I don't use it at all. I mean, following trends in general, it can be a good way to like get a quick like flash of views on a video or two, but it's not going to be like a consistent, like sustainable way to make valuable content for your audience. Like if you just hop on trends all the time, like your major goal when posting as someone that works in finance should be to educate people. And it's really hard to educate people while using trending audio. If you think you can, it can be a good way to work it in, but I definitely wouldn't make it a priority because I haven't hopped on a trend in 3 years and I have 1.7 million followers across platforms. So I don't think it's something that's necessary to your overall strategy.
Definitely. And there is an option where you can use the trending audio and just reduce the volume pretty significantly. It is hard to get it to work where your voice is still the most prevalent piece of the video, and it can often be distracting. But if you do find a trending audio and you say, oh, this would actually go well with my video, it's pretty low key, and you want to play it in the background like Nick did on one of his recording styles videos that we showed you, that is an option. So I would absolutely say play around with it, but don't build the video around the sound.
For sure.
All right, Tamara, I am overwhelmed with taking all of this on with my client load. Is there an affordable agency that will handhold me through the process or maybe do the editing? So, I mean, the totally biased answer is us. We have an agency offering and we do every single thing except appear on camera. And so that is absolutely something that's an option and we can absolutely talk about it. It is also very possible to find an editor. That is what Nick and I have found to be the biggest time save, is having someone to edit your videos, because then you can just ideate, you can write the scripts, film it. That maybe takes 30 minutes of video. And if you want to do 2-3 a week, now you've pretty significantly reduced your workload. The other piece that we do for clients is we will actually post the videos and write the captions as well. We found that to be a really time-consuming part of our own practices, was actually having to go through each different platform, post it all, make sure the captions fit, make sure there are no overlapping hashtags from the different platforms, and it just felt like wasted time. And so finding someone who will also post those videos is, I would consider, to be the second most time-saving aspect. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at our agency, and it is kind of geared towards REAs with a couple $100 million under management to make the fee kind of make sense. So if you look at that and say like, oh, I don't think I really want to pay for that much every single month in order to have us do everything for you. If you just sign up for the course or get coaching from us, then we can help you find editors in our coaching calls and help you set up that process so you can kind of handle that all and kind of offload that all without having to pay our high fee. But again, yeah, if you want the best possible thing out there, definitely check out our agency model. And you can see that if you just go to n2contentmarketing.com, it's going to be the main thing that's displayed on the homepage.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a good tie-in with Jim, I believe, from Adam Financial Group. If you sign up for the course, you get suggestions on compliance. We go way, way deeper than that. I have a whole section. I think it's like a 10-minute video or something like that, just talking about how to make all of this compliant. And we also share all of the tools that I use. So we share the archiving platform that I use. We share the way that I keep all of my records so that you get the exact same workflow that I use every single day, rather than just, oh, well, be careful with compliance. It's like, no, the actual most dangerous piece of being on social media as an advisor is commenting on videos. Like, I don't think most people know that. Commenting and reposting is way more dangerous than posting your own video. And so really understanding how entanglement works is just one of the things that I dive into because I geek out about it. I'm the only person who does this. I am currently the only content creator advisor. I want to change that. And I want to help you guys really join me up here. And so I'm just going to give you everything that I've learned. I don't see any point in holding back some sort of secret sauce. So any final questions before we wrap up here? Type faster. Type faster. You can do it. Don't panic. Don't panic. Don't panic, guys. It's gonna be okay. You just got to type. All right. I think we are all done for today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you would like to join us on March 14th, you'll get to learn a whole lot more about that compliance side of being an advisor on social media. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Take care.